If this is your first time with us, we have been on a hefty series called Origins, and we're taking a look. We've gone way back at the very beginning of the Bible, and we're looking at these key figures throughout Scripture that really play a part in shaping who we are. And if we don't think it really shapes who we are, then certainly, at least, at minimum, we can see that we can identify with them. There's a lot in the way that they make decisions, and there's a lot in the way that they go about life that is very, very reflective of who we are today. And so we're going to keep with that. Last week we talked about, we looked at King David and a song that he wrote. And it was one of those songs that for me, I feel like dressing up in warrior clothes and running through the field and just going crazy. And I only had Grandma Joe who was willing to go with me on that journey. And so it would be a warrior run. It would just be a little bit slower. But she's fast, so I guess I shouldn't say that. But so it was a song that talked about how God is our rock, how God is the one who He delights in us. He's also the one that arms us with strength, and He is our avenger. That's who God is. So we looked at the song that David sang about who God truly is. We're going to keep going with David, but we're going to truly go to the end of his life, and we're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 2. And it's a conversation that he has with Solomon, his son. Now, just a little bit of history here. David made a poor decision and had relationship with Bathsheba out of wedlock, and he had someone killed because they belonged to her, and it was an ugly thing, right? Well, the first son that David and Bathsheba had, because it wasn't God's plan and it wasn't what was supposed to happen, the end result of that firstborn son was that child died. Solomon is the second boy that Bathsheba and David had together. At this point in the story, Solomon is only 12 years old. 12 years old. Now, for me, what I've started doing, here recently, God's impressed it on my heart to the best of my ability to go back throughout the course of my life and write down memories. It's really weird things that happened before I even went to kindergarten that God's helping me remember. But if I think about my days of living when I was 12 years old, being a king was not one of them. Now, I could imagine that and play kingship and play that in my room, but I wasn't facing the reality of truly becoming a king of a nation and a king of a people. Now, at this point, also, all the tribes were, even though they were all separate tribes, they were all with one another or for one another. And so it wasn't just like Solomon was over one group of people. It was all 12 tribes of Israel. So we have this conversation, this father-son dialogue, if you will, where David is giving I'm calling it a passing the baton chat, this passing the baton charge to his son. And we're going to look through that this morning, and I've got my baton right here as a reminder this morning. I wish I could just throw all of these out, or throw a bunch of these out to everybody, but that would cause injuries. But we do this in the course of our life. We all have a baton that we're holding, and we're all running with this. Now, what this represents, we'll get into today. But we're continually defining what this is, and we all have this in common, that we are all going to hand this off to someone else. And it's a sobering reality. Some of us, we don't care what this looks like. We don't care what this is defined by. We don't care who gets it even. And we have the potential of living very carefree, careless lives as if, it'll be someone else's mess. I'm just going to live my life and let it be what it's going to be, and people are going to reap the repercussions of my decisions. But it's not on my shoulders. See, we need to be responsible. We need to be people who are responsible at not only passing this off, but we need to be responsible with defining what this is. I don't know about you, but I want to hand off good things. I want to hand off God things. I want to hand off true things immediately to my children. And secondly, my family is primary. And then secondly, those that I live life with. We're always doing this. And so we're going to take a look at that this morning and look at this conversation between David and his son Solomon. Now, I don't know, how many of you are Instagram users? Are you on Instagram? Okay. I use Instagram to post pictures, mainly because I like the way I can tweak my pictures and make them look like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But there's one page that I follow, and it's called The Success Soup. And so it's just hundreds of quotes that motivate you. I copy-pasted some of them. I didn't get their permission, but I figured it's out there so we can use it. But it's phrases like this. Commitment means staying loyal to what you said you were going to do long after the mood you said it in has left you. That's commitment. That's a good one, right? Don't die before you're dead. I mean, that's what you guys are doing. Yeah, oh, yeah. It does that, doesn't it? We read quotes like this and like, oh gosh, am I dead right now? Do I have dreams? Am I living a certain way? Am I living with life? To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people just exist. I got two more. If you have the power to make someone happy, do it. The world needs more of that. And then lastly, this is one that this is me. I am the glass half full kind of perspective. Train your mind to see the good in every situation. So this Instagram page is full of these motivational quotes that when you read them, it just does this. You feel your chest expand and you feel yourself straighten up and you walk with more purpose and intentionality than before you read those. Now my dilemma is I need to read these on an almost hourly basis because I forget. I'm so, and we'll get to that in a second, but man, I have to keep these things in front of me all the time. That's why I like following this page, the soup, or the success soup. I don't know a single person that I've ever met that says, you know what, I cannot wait to live a life of mediocrity. What do you strive for today? Oh, I just want to be so-so, like par. I don't know anybody that strives for par unless you're playing golf. But there should be something in us, and maybe I was asking God, I was like, God, is this even the right way to think? Does this have anything to do with you? Does success have anything to do with you? Does living a life that is defined by succeeding, does it have anything to do with you? Everywhere that I look in the Old Testament, God will give charges to people, and He says, listen, if you stay faithful to me, I will make your path straight, and I will let you succeed in what you do. It's significant. Succeeding is significant to God. Now, we all mess up. We all fail. I mean, I fail. I fail the way that, like, face on the ground, scars on the face. That's the kind of failings that I do when I fail. I fail good. And one of the quotes up there says, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. I remember reading that one. I was like, that's so true. I just didn't realize I was going to be so good at learning throughout my life. But succeeding is important. And this conversation that David is having with Solomon. Listen, God showed up to a prophet and spoke to this prophet and said, I'm giving you this. You need to say these things to David. I'm going to initiate a covenant with David that there will always be someone on the throne from the family of David. So don't you think that this is a pivotal conversation? Listen, Solomon, I can just hear the tone of David. Solomon, the way you live your life, the throne is riding on how you live your life. The success and the fulfillment of this prophecy is dependent upon your commitment to God. That is powerful, and this is such an important conversation that's taken place right here. And so we're going to look at this, and we're going to go through this, and it's going to feel like a blink of an eye. Because it's so simple and so powerful. 1 Kings chapter 2, I'm going to read through this section. It's just a handful of verses, and we're going to start, we'll just start in verse 1. When the time drew near for David to die, he gave a charge to Solomon, his son. I'm about to go the way of all the earth, he said. Remember, y'all, Solomon's 12 years old. This conversation is being had with a 12-year-old. So be strong, show yourself a man, and observe what the Lord your God requires. Walk in his ways and keep his decrees and commandments, his laws and requirements, as written in the law of Moses, so that you may prosper/succeed in all you do and wherever you go. And that the Lord may keep his promise to me. See, he's like, see, Solomon, the way you live your life isn't only for your benefit. This has to do with me as well and what God has promised me. And this is what God promised. If your descendants watch how they live, and if they walk faithfully before me with all their heart and soul, you will never fail to have a man on the throne of Israel. No big deal, 12-year-old son. Right? I'm sure Solomon ran out and was like, Mom! It kind of has that tone to it. Like, I'm sure he was freaking out just a little bit. David starts off, he says, I'm about to go the way of all the earth. Eternity is before me, and my earthly existence is closing in. With that reality in front of me, son, you need to listen to what I'm about to say. This isn't just hey, we're sitting on the side and taking in the scenery, and isn't this pretty? Let's have a father-son chat. No, this is the end of life for David. And he's experienced enough life and death throughout the course of his experience to know that there's no exceptions. If we all have one thing in common, if you want to find something common that we have with one another, we're all going to die. Now, that's not a drab thought. I'm actually kind of excited about spending eternity in heaven. I'm not going to help make that happen, but I'm saying we all have that commonality. That's one truth that rests in this place. We will all die a physical death. And it's a very sobering thing. I mean, you won't experience anything more sobering and anything more where the rubber meets the road than when you're in a hospital room as a family's making the decision whether to take a family member off life support or not. It doesn't get any more real than that. That's the reality that David was faced with. And so he's having this really serious conversation. I'm about to go the way of all the earth. So be strong, my 12-year-old son. Show yourself a man. He's 12 years old. And he's saying, man up. Be a man. You're going to see me die in a minute. And that's small in comparison to the fact that you're going to be the king of the 12 tribes of Israel. Several million people, you're going to be their king at 12. Y'all, for all the youth that are in here, I don't want to, I kind of don't want to hear how stressed you are. Unless you've walked a few steps in Solomon's shoes, that's stress. That's being overwhelmed. That is a lot. Show yourself a man. See, I know you should be at the prime of your imaginative years, and this should be the prime of your childhood life. But listen, Solomon, childhood for you is over. I think there are some adults that might need to hear that message. Childhood for you is over. The way you approach your relationship with Christ, listen, childhood is over. It doesn't mean that we can't smile and have fun and be imaginative. No, it doesn't mean that, but we do need to grow up in our faith, grow up in the Lord. Childhood is over for you, and you've got to man up. So with that understanding, Solomon, this is what needs to happen. Observe what the Lord your God requires. Observe what the Lord your God requires. And this is what He requires. And this is where we're going to spend the most of the morning. Walk in His ways and keep His decrees and His commands, His laws and requirements as written in the law of Moses. Now, the first one is pretty simple. Walk in His ways. I wonder if Solomon got this. I wonder if it registered to him. One way that we could find out is by going to Proverbs and looking through Proverbs and see what Solomon wrote. What's really interesting is when you start researching the word walk, where Solomon wrote in Proverbs, this is kind of what he says. When sinners entice you, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their path. Proverbs 2:7. God stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk uprightly. Proverbs 3:21 and 23. My son, preserve sound judgment and discernment. Do not let them out of your sight. They will be life for you. Then you will walk safely in your way, and your foot will not stumble. I would have to gather that Solomon got it. There's something in the way that we walk, and I've talked about this a few times. The way we walk is important. Now, I'm not going to do all my impersonations and start doing impersonation walks or anything like that. But I want to demonstrate, this is a super low budget demonstration, illustration, because I need to borrow somebody. Kurt, can I borrow you this morning? You have a big task. You're Jesus. Come on up here with me. Now, if you could start back here. And I'm us, okay? We have several dilemmas with the way that we walk. I think that we have a focused dilemma. So Jesus even says, walk with me, abide in me. All we're going to do is walk. Okay, you're Jesus and you're walking, I'm us and we're walking, okay? We have a focus. If I were to change this for kids, I would say we have a squirrel syndrome. Okay, so we're just going to walk. And this is what we do. We're like, hey, what's up, Jesus? How you doing? We do this, don't we? And then we're like, why are you over there? I saw a squirrel. And you're, okay, well, I guess I'm back over here. And a squirrel can be success. A squirrel can be money. A squirrel can be coveting and all of this stuff. A squirrel can look like a whole lot of different things, but we have like whiplash because our squirrel syndrome is so crazy strong. Okay, let's go back here and start again. What's another one that we have? We have a pace challenge. Jesus says, walk with me, right? So we're walking. I feel all alone. Where is God right now? I feel like I'm out here on an island by myself, but why are you back there? You're supposed to be up here with me. And Jesus says, walk with me. He doesn't say we're not having a sprinting contest, son. We're walking. All right, look, we got one more. We have a truth challenge. What is truth? When we're walking with Jesus, Jesus would say something like this. You can say this. You can say, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Okay, so I'm sorry, what? What is way, anyways, and truth? I remember reading about Herod when you said, I came to testify to truth, and he says, what is truth? I'm kind of with Herod. What's truth, Jesus? And life. We can all define life. And so we have this truth dilemma when Jesus says, walk with me, we have all these things working against us, and, well, we do it on our own. Can we give Kurt a hand this morning? Great job. We could stand up here, and Kurt and I could go back and forth for the rest of the service and list out all kinds of other challenges that we have. And we make it difficult for ourselves. When Jesus simply says, and what David's simply saying right here, he's saying, son, walk in his ways. Walk in his ways. I don't have it memorized, and I'm going to do my best off the top of my mind. But in the New Testament, Paul says there's that list of things where he lists out, think on these things. Whatever's noble, whatever's true, whatever's trustworthy, all of that conglomeration. When we're supposed to walk in the ways or in his ways, that list is what he's talking about. Walk in truth. Walk in the things that are trustworthy. Walk in all of that stuff that's good. Is your walk a good walk? I'm not talking about your swagger. I'm not talking about your strut. I'm not talking about any of that kind of stuff. But is your walk good? That's what David is saying to Solomon. Walk. Walk in him. Walk in his ways. And up on the screen we had a couple different pictures, and it goes through all these different scenes of just a woman walking. And then we have a guy out hunting, some football players, a businessman. Wherever your feet go, you're probably walking there. How are you walking where you're at? At home, in business, on the football field, in choir practice, in your classrooms. How are you walking? And David goes on to say this, keep his decrees and commands, his laws and his requirements. And he goes on to say more about what to keep. And once again, I wonder, did David get this? Did he get this? Did this register in his head? Over 20 times throughout Proverbs, he uses words like keep and bind. Now, I do this sometimes. I have to be really careful with who I pick for this one. But, Stephen, can I borrow you for a second? So keep, you can come up here with me. You trust me? Yeah. Okay. If I want to keep God and His truth with me, I want to keep it. I want it bound to me. And so, if I want to keep it, I'm just going to bear hug you. I'm not going to break you or anything. But this, like, I want to keep the Word of God with me. And if I start shaking, it's just because I'm out of shape. Okay. But I'm keeping Him with me wherever I go. Right? I'm just walking with the truth. I'm walking with His commandments. I'm walking with His decrees. I'm just walking. I'm keeping Him. Not for the rest of the service, but thank you. That's what we ought to be like. His decrees, His law, His covenant, His commands. I'm keeping it with me. I'm holding on to it. I'm binding it. Solomon wrote these things throughout Proverbs. He got it. Now, he didn't get it all the way because eventually he had 700 wives from a bunch of different lands. So he messed up, right? The Bible says he liked women of other nationalities so much, in fact, that he had 700 wives from all different kinds of countries. I imagine that his grip was a little loose during those days. But here in this moment, David, to his 12-year-old son, he's saying, keep the laws and the commands. Keep the decrees. Keep it. Bind it. Ratchet strap to yourself so that you can't let go of it. Don't you know that what's happening here is if Instagram existed back in these days, this conversation would be one of the posts. And we have to have, we can say, well, we don't need an Instagram page because we have the Bible. Well, you're right, but we still need to have our life, our own life verse, if you will. And you can borrow it from the Bible and whatnot, but I think there's something really powerful and significant if we write our own pass the baton charge.